Hey there, Bob Nagy here, AB5N. What am I doing? I am operating my Flex Signature Series SDR radio out in the backyard on an iPad. Wow, checked into a net, no problem. Really easy to operate. Looks like a German amateur has written SmartSDR for Apple iOS. That means iPhones, iPads, iPad Airs, iPad Pro, and the app seems to work really well. So let's take a look at all the features and functions this app has. Well, on your iOS device, when you fire up the app, it comes up with this screen. And if you're a SmartSDR user, this is going to be very intuitive. It's a no-brainer. You'll be having your first QSO in no time. But a lot of you are looking at this and don't have SmartSDR experience, and this will be informative as well. So you go ahead and download the app from iTunes, and you'll have to authorize it by purchasing it, or you can try it in demo mode first because you want to find out if it's going to work on your device. So if you use one of these three little things on the bottom and go to Tools and FlexRadio Access over here, well, it's going to allow you to purchase the program. It's not very expensive. Or also set it up and go ahead and try the demo mode. Also in the Tools bin over here is Band Plan and DX Cluster. So you can superimpose a band plan on top of the screen, which is nice because I don't know how many times I've looked and said, oh, where is that darn extra slice that I can use and portion of the band? And so that's really nice to have that right underneath. And then the DX Cluster implementation, which is great because you can just have DX Cluster info come right up on the screen as you're operating the radio. So that's pretty keen. But if you press the pan adapter one over here and you don't have anything currently connected, that means your radio is not connected to this device. This device is using the Wi-Fi in your house, and your Flex radio is connected into your router or your Wi-Fi, such that you can access it. You would click on it here to connect, or you could click, there was a con up the top left, you can do that, and your radio, you'll see it listed over here if you have it turned on. And if you touch it, it will go ahead and connect up with the radio, and bam, all of a sudden you will have the screen as you're normally used to in SmartSDR. One of the first things, though, is that if you touch this top button over here and use the left menu system, which we will talk about shortly, if you press audio, you can select having the receive audio come out of the handheld device, say if you're all the way out in the backyard, or say you're using it locally in your shack, you could have it come out of the speaker connected to the Flex radio itself just by this device audio selector up here. So device audio, receive audio, or have that sound come out of your traditional speaker. And you do, of course, have your headphone volume adjust and line out adjust on here. And you just hit it again and get rid of the menuing system. Now, it's important to know that you have the right device to run this app, and that means an iPhone 5S or newer, an iPad 3, an iPad Air 2. I'm running the iPad mini second version, and it seems to be running all right. And, of course, the big, new, fantastic iPad Pro. That'll all run this app nicely and smoothly. When you do go into the Tools menu and you authorize the app, it's like an in-app purchase in another app. It'll guide you automatically through purchasing the app, and it is one time only, and you can operate it on up to 5 devices, so it's just one shot, and you can move it from device to device. You get a new device, move it to that device. Now let's take a look at some of the menus going on over here. If we touch the right menu button, see there's a left one and a right one, it brings up really the traditional looking menuing system that we're all used to from SmartSDR. RF power, you can just drag these around with your finger. Everything's touch control, which is rather nice. Tune power. All of these we're used to already. Tune, Mox, ATO. I mean, these are standard deals. And look at that. Slide it up with your finger. That's nice. So you've got your level and compression meters, your mic level over here with the same numbers and everything else because they are controlling those same parameters that SmartSDR does on a PC. So your profiles and all of the kind of things that you're used to over here. DAX, also especially important. This can control it just like you would from the PC version. AM carrier level Vox, your noise gating there, de-expander. But these are I mean, there's nothing new here except that the EQ adjusters are vertical rather than horizontal, as on the PC versions. I mean, there's really no big difference here. You're just sliding these around like this, and of course, you can use a preset profile that you've already saved. So look at that, pretty keen. You can just press this, and it goes away. Now, the menuing system on the left is somewhat different than what we're used to in SmartSDR. I'm just going to touch it, and we did touch the audio one earlier, but I'll pop that open again over here, and it's pretty straightforward. You can turn your tracking Knotch filters on and off just like you can in the PC version here, and adjust these audio levels. Plus RX adds another receives over here, another receiver with the flag, and you touch it to activate it, like so. Look at that, touch and drag, which we'll talk about shortly. And these flags we're used to already with SmartSDR. The layout is pretty much identical. So if we look down the list here, we're seeing BW, and that's bandwidth. But it's not the bandwidth of the slice of the receiver you're looking at a signal with. This is the width of the screen in kilohertz that you're looking at, up to 1 megahertz here. So we can quickly jump out and see a larger slice of the band over here. And of course, you can always use your fingers to drag. It's just like the Maestro here. You can drag it out or drag it in to zoom in or zoom out. And that is pretty keen once you get it down. Sometimes I'll use both fingers, like end fingers like this, just squeeze them in and out like that. So let's you jump to a preset bandwidth pretty quickly. Antenna, pretty much straightforward. Antenna 1, 2, or a transverter, or the separate antenna like you have a beverage or loop there. RF gain is really the preamplifier, and you can kick in the 20 dB as you like or need, and generally the receiver is plenty sensitive, maybe 10 meters or 6 meters you might want to kick it in. And the wideband noise reduction over here on or off, and the level adjustment here. This is a rather new addition to the scene on SmartSDR, so it's a noise blanker, of course, that looks at the entire amount that's being pulled into the A to D converter chip and bases its noise reduction on that, rather than the regular noise blanker, which looks at just the area you're actually looking at on the screen to judge its parameters. Display, pretty straightforward. We have averaging, and of course you're going to want to run some averaging. I tend to want around 65% averaging, and that smooths out the display like that. Frames per second, depending on your device, all of the ones I suggested that would work with this software are going to handle 26 frames a second, and I really like that sort of zone. This is personal preference. You mess with those and see what you like. But faster FPS gives a nice, smoother look to things, and 26 seems to be the place I always land up putting mine. Weighted average just changes the way it responds in the peaks. You see if you like the way that works. Gain, of course, is again on the display here, just like sensitivity of the pan adapter here. We can put auto on the black level, and that'll give us a nice contrasty looking background. Or you can turn it off and do it yourself, and slide the slider and change the look of the screen on the waterfall down there to make the information pop out or not. Generally, since conditions change, I'll leave it on auto. And the rate is the speed of the waterfall, so that it dictates how much time you're looking at into the past. You could take it quite a bit slower if you wanted, look at a much longer amount of time. But generally, I find that 12 seconds or something like that's going to be fine. That's what we're at about 77 here, maybe 13 seconds, something like that. Or you can turn the waterfall off completely and just use it as a spectrum analyzer here. Sort of having trouble reaching around the camera here to do this. There we go, a traditional spectrum analyzer look. But what happened with the previous models and software, people tended to use the Panafall display, so that's the default on this. DAX IQ, this tells us which channel to send the DAX IQ output directly out for CW skimmer. That's a standard deal. You might be using this in conjunction with your PC running programs like CW skimmer and others that require the IQ output, or not, so it's all up to you. Plus memory, that's pretty straightforward. What that does is memorize where we're at right now as a memory channel, except it queries you and asks you, what do you want to name it right away? So that's really good, so it can just immediately stick it in with a correct name. And then your net here on the bottom is how fast is your network. If you got a faster network, you can tell this thing, well, use more bandwidth to get faster performance. Or if you're really sharing things, you have a little slower network, Well, it'll work better on the slow. And you can experiment with that and see how your display looks and see how the thing responds as far as can you afford to run it faster or slower. I'm not noticing a heck of a lot of change because I have a fast network here. Remember that to get rid of these menus, you just tap somewhere else on the screen and they slide away. Looking at the selections along the top of the screen over here, remember that the right and left icons here are the left and right menus, which we've shown you. But here's your speaker mute. PTT brings up the PTT button on the bottom of the screen, and you literally touch and hold for it to transmit. And I believe you can change that to a toggle if you like. Slice A, this is going to show us the slices that we have on the screen so that we can get rid of one if we want to, which is, there we go, I'm going to go plus, and now I've got 2 slices over here. Touch the screen, get rid of that. Hit our slice selector here, and we see we have both of the slices and their frequencies. But say I want to get rid of B over here, I'm just going to go hit edit. Oops. I'm going to hit edit and go the negative symbol. Really want to delete it? Yeah, I do want to delete it. Touch it anywhere on the screen, and it goes away. Pan 1, remember that although you can only show one at a time, it does support having multiple receivers open because you have quite a few available on the higher models of signature radios. So you could have several listed here and select between them if you had different ones open. You know, we can have 2 little flag and receiver slices on the one pan adapter here, or we could have one on multiple ones and select between them with this pan. And last and least is disconnect. If I hit it, it disconnects the radio. I want to reconnect. I can hit connect, con, or I can just go here, select my radio. Us wealthy folks might have several of these. It would show you all your radios, and bam, you're back on. So like I said, I can zoom in. I can use this little technique that I've developed like that. It sort of works pretty keen. Or I could just go ahead and go to the left, select BW over here and go, I just want to look at a 50 kilohertz slice, or, you know, zoom way the heck in. Oops. And, you know, just look at the actual signal itself. Now on PC-based SmartSDR, we would be touching things on the flag over here, but because this is pretty small if you're running a device, say this big or a telephone, if you just touch it, it gives you a nice full-size menu that you can deal with. And this is how you put in your direct frequency entry. You can just type it right in here and hit megahertz or kilohertz, and bam, it goes right to the frequency. You can change your mode. Look at this, all the standard modes are listed over here, and your basic filter preset for actually the bandwidth of listening to the signal you're listening to. You got your DSP settings as per normal, wideband noise blanker, regular noise blanker, noise reduction, which really works super nice, and automatic notch filter. And remember, you just touch anywhere on the screen to back it up one. DAX, RIT, XIT, your audio thing, which is the same as the one on the left menu over there. And your step control, you know, how fast you want it to step. And why are we saying step here when we don't have a tuning dial? We do have a tuning dial. See this little arrow over here? Zoom into that. Well, I can just hit it like that, and look at this. He has really done a swell job, and it's got momentum, which is, it's like it has weight, and it can slide you up and down frequency quite nicely. So when you adjust that step, you're adjusting the step of the tuning dial, and this, of course, is, you can put it anywhere you want, and you can open it up. I need to change something. So that's something you sort of leave on the screen, or I do, and you can tune around really easily or fine-tune yourself in once you get close, you know, and then pop it open. I need to change band or the frequency or whatever, you know, bands. And this stuff is available pretty darn quickly here. So again, that little arrow is the thing that minimizes this. Look at that, cute the way it bounces. That is attention to detail in programming. Very nice. So you can put your frequency in direct. Get right there. You can change the band with the band on the left menu here. And you just touch the flag and you get the tuning wheel or the full menu system here. So it makes it pretty easy to deal with getting where you want to go really quickly. Now I'm going to show you one of the things I find absolutely most amazing about this application. It has a DX cluster module. And when I hit that, I can, after just putting my calls in and the settings in here and such, it automatically logs in and shows me all the activity on the DX cluster. Okay, that's pretty keen, right? Oh no, that's not tremendously keen. Watch this. It superimposes the information on top of the pan adapter. How about that? I mean, that's truly amazing. and you scroll around, and you might come across other signals there that are on the DX cluster showing. And look what I'm showing here. I'm showing the band plan. See where that red is over there? The band plan is also superimposed at the same time. That is super cool. Look at this. For adjusting the bandwidth when you're listening to a signal, you're not going to do the drag and move like you would do with a mouse on the PC version. You touch the bottom of the screen where the slice is, and it brings up the bandpass filter here that you're working with, the center, the upper frequency and lower frequency, and you can delete the slice from here. This also works with the tracking notch filters. Touch anywhere on the screen, it closes. And here's another thing, while you have the DX clusters open, normally you would adjust your baseline to somewhere near the bottom here, but if you just slide it up ever so slightly, then the DX spottings are in the clear over here, and it just makes them easier to see. In CW mode, CWX is supported by this program. And when you're in CW, you'll see CWX on the top. You can bring up the screen. You have your macros all here, ready to go, so you can do your automated CQ and that kind of thing, and first response, etc. Plus, if you just touch in the transmit screen down here with a little L, you can type the text that you want to send and go ahead and hit send, or you can go L for live mode, and as you type, it'll go out over the air. So that is pretty keen. Touch anywhere in the screen to go back. Bam. Another novel feature of this program is that it works in two different modes. One where it's completely autonomous and it's doing everything for you and all that. But the other mode is where the PC version is also running. And so you've got both of them going on, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility because you might be operating this in the backyard where it's totally autonomous, or you might be running it in the house and have both of them active. On your selections on the bottom of the screen over here, the far left one is to choose the pan adapter, regular configuration. But you have a couple of other ones in here, and this one is the settings of the transceiver itself here, general settings. In my case, it's a Flex 6300. But you're used to these if you've used Power SDR before, and they're pretty much self-explanatory. But it's touch, and they go down into different things, setting up your iambic pedal mode, that kind of thing. You go back. Very straightforward. The tools over here is where you find that DX cluster, the superimposition of the band plan, and FlexRadio access itself. So you'll be dealing with that, especially when you first purchase the program. And then the settings here are the settings of this program, and these are the general settings: communication mode, discover, scan, fixed. This is whether it looks for your radio, or you know the IP number is always fixed, and you do that. The discover is the standard mode. I'm not going to go down each one of these because there's a lot of them, and it doesn't, well, I guess not that many of them, but these are pretty much self-explanatory, and they're all mostly personal preference, except for things like, IARU region, things like that. So you've got, you can have a little smaller tuning wheel or a little bigger tuning wheel, things like that. Microphone volume, really general stuff. All right, let's take a look at the way we create and manage and adjust tracking notch filters. A little bit different than SmartSDR on a PC. So I picked an area which has a few little carriers coming in there. There's no signal right under them, but this way we'll at least get to show you how to do it. And a very easy way is to use the left menu here, go plus TNF, and then you'll see that a line appears here, and that's your tracking notch filter. And you can literally move it around and stick it on top of a carrier. There's a carrier there. And I've pretty much done away with it. Now, if I just touch the bottom over here, it will give me an adjustment of normal, deep, or very deep, if I really need it to be a little bit deeper there. And also, remember, that's if you want to always leave this filter here. Say you know you've got a carrier from the neighbor's TV or something like that, and it's in a frequency that you use, and you can leave that tracking notch filter there, until whenever you want to take it out. So I can hit remember and it'll just take it out. Now, if today I just have a random carrier in there, I can knock it out with this and it'll go away. Again, hit anywhere on the screen. But also, under the Flex 6300 settings, the second selection on the bottom here, you can go into tracking notch filters and you'll see the filters that you've created, and you can edit each one of them individually. So you sort of have a manual area for adjusting your TNFs. Pretty key. And then if I just want to get rid of it, I just touch the bottom like this, delete the filter, and there's the carrier again. So there you have it, the Flex iOS app for running your Signature Series radio on an iPad or an iPhone. It really has all of the features and functions that it needs to have. Now, the only thing you're missing is a nice weighted tuning dial, and of course the crispness or feel of it, the immediacy of it is not as good as the Maestro remote console, but the faster your device is, and I'm running an iPad mini, which is not the fastest, the more responsive the program will be. So for the pittance that they're asking for this app, I'd say it's a must-have. So until next time, see ya. Take care.